Everyone hear me? We're all good? Perfect. Good afternoon, everyone, and to those on the West Coast, good morning. I hope we are all having a great day so far. It's an honor to have this opportunity to speak for you all today. I know how busy things can get this time of year, and would like to start off by thanking each and every one of you for taking the time to join us. The topic of discussion for today will be our 2024 BEAD preparation guide, unseen risks, but more importantly, untapped opportunities. The goal for this webinar is to identify all the major hurdles implemented into the BEAD program and how we can help you overcome these. If you have any questions during this presentation, please feel free to throw them in the chat and we will respond to them at the end during our Q&A session. Before we get right into the nitty-gritty of the BEAD requirements, let me take a moment to introduce myself as well as my esteemed co-speakers. Slide, please. I probably should have led with this, but hello, my name is Shapur Zadiar. I'm a broadband funding analyst here at Calix, and my career in the broadband industry started 3 years ago, initially as a Calix intern, actually. I helped build the foundation of our funding team and the great resources we have to offer today, and my primary focus is to educate providers like yourselves on the intricacies of both public and private funding options. Joining me here today, we first have Jennifer Holtz. She is a vice president at JSI, where she oversees federal and state regulatory affairs, compliance, and advocacy efforts for broadband providers. With expertise on broadband policy, funding, and deployment, Jennifer helps clients nationwide to access broadband funding, comply with federal and state regulations, and address challenges facing their businesses. Prior to joining JSI, Jennifer had several senior positions at the FCC in the Public Safety and Homeland Security Bureau, and also spent some time at the NTIA where she worked on past federal programs like BTOP, Connect ED, Connect Home, and launched Broadband USA. Joining us, we also have Mike Reed. With a 3-decade tenure in the intricate domains of finance and insurance, Mike embarked on his Unitel career in 2009. A virtuoso in advising clients on risk and crafting bespoke solutions, Mike's footprint extends beyond the conventional as he actively participates in various state, regional, and national communication associations, spearheading client relationship management in the Mountain States with a laser focus on risk management. Mike's passion for innovating bonding solutions and resources embodies his relentless pursuit of unwavering commitment to setting industry benchmarks. Lastly, we have Arizona Parker. She is a course developer at Calix with a focus on broadband workforce transformation. She is collaborating with the education services team to develop comprehensive solutions that help broadband service providers build and future-proof their local workforces. Prior to joining Calix in the summer of 2023, she worked as a learning and development professional within the software startup industry. Arizona is passionate about creating learning solutions that enable success and is committed to supporting BSBs as they navigate the changing workforce landscape. All right, now that we have introductions out the way and you guys have some context as to who exactly we even are, let's jump right into the fun stuff. Next slide, please. So to start things off, we would like to begin with a quick poll question to gauge everyone's opinion on the program. So the question is, what is your perspective on the BEAD program? Are you confident you'll be pursuing funds? Are you thinking about it but still not sure? Or are you confident in not pursuing the funds at all? He'll give it about a minute to get your answers in. Alrighty, thank you everybody for the feedback. It's great to see that we have a shared, I guess, a mix between confident to apply and not so confident. Hopefully, towards the end of this webinar, we should push some more people over to the confident in pursuing these funds. Now, I will pass it along to Jen, who will give a quick overview of where we are today and also some important considerations.
Great. Thank you so much, Shapur, and thanks so much for having us participate today. So I'm going to discuss where we are on timing, where we are in the process, but real fast, I want to just level set that BEAD is truly going to change the landscape, the competitive landscape as we see it today. Now, as we saw from the polling, about half of you are unsure if you're going to participate. But I want to say that this is really a rare opportunity, unprecedented amount of funding to really protect your area, build scale, and prevent competitors from expanding into your area. So, with that context, let's jump into the timing. So, only one state, Louisiana, has currently received their full approval from NTIA for their initial proposal, and they've completed their challenge process. So that's the first state in the process ready to go. We are now awaiting a few other challenge processes to open up. So Georgia should open up any day now. Illinois, we're looking at the week of February 27th, so a few days away. Indiana, we're looking at March 4th, and Texas, April 4th. Now, Texas is going to be a shorter window. We're looking at that closing around April 17th. So, with that, we've got about all of the states having submitted their initial proposals to NTIA for approval. We are waiting for them to approve the majority of them. Thus far, they've approved about 10 states, volume one. So that means that those 10 states can begin their challenge process. And then we are looking in Q3. Apparently, hopefully, most of the states, if not all, will have conducted their challenge process by Q3. Now, if you've elected enhanced ACAM, if you're an RDOF CAF carrier, then you're required to participate in the challenge process. And even if one of those classifications doesn't apply to you, it's really important to participate because this is how you're really going to protect your area. So we're definitely encouraging everyone to participate. And then we're also expecting Q3 is when certain states are going to start announcing their subgrant award processes and their timelines. So that's kind of what we're looking at in terms of timing. It's really difficult to say what states are going to open when with their application windows, given that we're on a rolling basis for all of these states. A few considerations for you to all keep in mind is that what we're seeing is that a lot of the state broadband offices are really looking towards larger applications, larger geographies, looking at a kind of more partnerships, more consortia. So this is really going to require doing an analysis up front, being really thoughtful, really comprehensive, really looking at the economics of your area, seeing if you have access to capital, also thinking about their construction of plans. Do you have your digital equity plans in place, your cybersecurity plans, your low cost pricing plans? Those are all things to start thinking about in terms of, what stakeholders are you going to partner with? Who in the community are you going to do your applications with? And how are you going to do this in a timely and cost effective manner? Do you have access to resources, to contractors? So with that, real quickly, how can JSI help you? We can help you in the challenge process. We're working with a number of companies right now in the challenge process. We're also helping companies assess whether or not this opportunity makes sense, looking at their areas, looking at where they might expand, what's the return on investment, and then does it make sense to participate in a consortia? We're putting together a number of consortia right now, so that's also an area that we can help. And with that, I will turn it over to Shapur.
Thank you very much, Jen. Next slide, please. Alrighty. So now let's transition to over to what the bulk of our webinar is going to consist of. Very straightforward. It's pretty much what do providers need to prepare for and how can we help you prepare. As you can see, we have 8 different topics that we will touch on. To kick things off, I would like to first discuss matching funds. Next slide, please. All right. So, matching funds. Every applicant must be ready to provide, at the very least, a 25% match on their total project cost. In addition, applicants must also provide another 25% letter of credit or performance bond on the remaining 75% of the total project cost. Mike will touch on this shortly, so stay tuned. But the simple fact is, smaller rural providers don't have the capacity to compete. As you can expect, applicants with higher match percentages may get an edge over those that just provide the minimum 25%. The worst part about this is that the big tier ones that can actually afford to provide greater matches are definitely not going to be the ones to go to those extremely rural areas and connect people that truly need it. You guys are. Well, here at Calix, we identified this problem early on and created our private funding program. We work very closely with an esteemed group of investors that have years and years of experience in our industry and really know what it takes to be successful. What we do is we essentially act as matchmakers. So we meet with BSPs, understand their goals and ambitions for the future, and then pair them up with a suitable investor who can help them accomplish these goals. The best part about working with many different investors is their vast range of offerings. We have many different financing options ranging from equity deals to private debt, bonds, convertible debt, etc. So I genuinely believe that we have a solution for everyone, no matter the size, no matter the location, we can help. So if any of this was remotely interesting to you at all, please feel free to contact me directly at my email towards the end. I will now let Mike dive a little bit deeper into the letter of credit and performance bond piece.
Well, thank you, Shapur. This is Mike Reed. Can everybody hear me? Shapur, can you hear me? My mic is showing is not
Sure
on.
can. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Um, well, as Shapur mentioned, I want to dig into the letter of credit performance bond requirement that's attached to the BEAD grants that you'll be pursuing. At Unitel, our area of expertise is going to lie in the performance bonds. So we'll dig a little deeper on that side, but do at a very high level want everybody to understand really what the two requirements look like, compare and contrast, and then give you, from our perspective, kind of best process as you evaluate and pre-plan through the grant process. For most of you on the call, you have banking relationships, you understand what a letter of credit is. As Shapur mentioned, it's going to be 25% of the awarded amount. There are going to be some declining requirements once certain thresholds are met. One of the things that we do want to very much point out, it is going to be an annual fee to the bank. Depending on your banking relationship, that fee is going to vary. When you look at a performance bond, the big difference, we're going to be bonding the entire contract that you're going to receive. So with that, you're going to be required 100% of the awarded amount to bond. It's going to be a one-time fee. That is going to be one area that's different than the letter of credit. When you look at performance bond, traditionally, the clients that we work in the telecommunications space have not needed a contract bond per se. It's more traditional commercial bonds, similar to like, like a right of way or pole attachment. Contract bonds, when you look at what we're doing with BEAD, you're going to have to perform the build out. And so when you look at how these are underwritten, they are underwritten very much like a loan document. When balance sheet becomes very critical in that underwriting process, they are looking for, I think when you look at your financials, you start thinking positive equity on the balance sheet. They're looking at strong working capital are going to be critical. What we've been advising many of our clients and prospective clients as we move through this is really understand, what that process is going to look like. Don't wait till you get to, receiving the award to determine, what's the best path on how to secure. Is it letter of credit or is it performance bonds? We think it's critical to understand what your bonding capacity is going to look like, meaning what does your balance sheet support, right? What's your capability as an organization support? What plan do you have in place, and get a pricing indication. And so with that, as you go into the grant process, you may use a letter of credit, you may use performance bonds, depending on, what the amount you do secure as you move through. The items that I would recommend that everybody kind of prioritize and get ready as you go through the pre-qualification is you're going to want to have 3 years of CPA produced financials. They don't have to be audited, but they do have to be CPA produced. That's very critical in this process. Have an organizational chart. If you have multiple entities, I think the more transparency you can provide to a surety company through this process is critical. Executive bios, and then there is a short questionnaire that every surety has. We've dedicated one just to telecom, as you guys are a little bit unique, not traditionally in the traditional contractor space. So a very light ask to go through the pre-qual process to really get a good feel for one, what you can bond, and what that pricing will look like. And just to note, there is no cost to pre-qualify. So one of the things that we like to talk about from a bonding capacity or bonding program is it's really understanding what runway you have. That runway, whether if you have a $50 million bonding capacity and you're only using 10, there's no fee for the additional. It's there for you to know from an executive team, what you can and cannot pursue if you are intending to use performance bond to secure the BEAD grant. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Arizona to speak to the cybersecurity component of the BEAD process.
Thank you so much. And can everyone hear me? My mic also said it was off.
Sure can.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for that. So talking about cybersecurity for a little bit. So to ensure that BEAD program funding is used to build secure and resilient networks, one of the things that they'll be looking for in applications is a cybersecurity risk management plan from all subgrantees. So if you already have one in place, this can either be operational, or if it's not developed yet, it needs to be ready for operation upon providing that network service. I would say the most critical aspect of this part of your application is that your plan needs to closely adhere to the latest version of the NIST cybersecurity framework. There's also different standards set forth in Executive Order 14028, and you can find additional information on that on the NIST website. But that report will include things like a threat landscape analysis that's unique to your region, as well as things like a detailed threat mitigation plan and response and recovery strategies in the event of a network breach. The closer that your plan can adhere to that standard, the more competitive your application will be. So we would strongly recommend that you refer to that NIST website. They have lots of different resources that can help you, including a small business cybersecurity corner and a quick start guide on how to adapt that framework for your business. Next slide. So in terms of how Calix can support you with cybersecurity, we have created a partnership with CISA, which is the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. It's part of the Department of Homeland Security. And through this Secure by Design training partnership, you'll now see that when you go into Calix University on the customer homepage under the Success for All banner, there's a brand new tile there called Cybersecurity Awareness. And what this means is that we're offering free educational resources that can help you better understand how to protect your network and pass that on to your team members as well. So some of these offerings that we've recently include instructor-led trainings, so you can connect directly with our senior technical trainers. And one of those activities is actually a CISA ransomware tabletop exercise that will walk you through scenarios and guidance on how to run these cybersecurity discussions with your team. We also have e-learning courses, including cloud security and ransomware response and prevention. And the great thing about this is that these can be cited in your funding applications to demonstrate your business's commitment to cybersecurity and network resilience. So definitely be sure to check out this new cybersecurity awareness tile on our site. And next slide, please. Okay, so moving into labor and wages. So the BEAD Notice of Funding opportunity does require that fair labor practices be one of the primary criteria in the scoring rubric for each state and territory. So it will be making up a considerable portion of those total scoring points. However, it's going to vary greatly by state, and it's very regional as well. The most important thing to be aware of here, though, is that there is a mandatory requirement that all subgrantees have records of compliance with federal labor and employment laws over the last 3 years, including the disclosure of any violations. Now, what does this documentation look like? That's going to have to include not only your records of compliance and violations, but also the records of any other entities that you anticipate will be involved, including contractors or subcontractors. You'll also need a certification of compliance from an officer or director level employee. And if you don't have one of those, then the equivalent within your team, as well as wages and payment practices for any people that will be involved in the physical build out of that network. There's also the Davis-Bacon Act to be aware of for federally funded projects. And through BEAD, this means that for any projects over $5 million, you have to certify that those workers are paid at or above prevailing wage rates. Once again, this will be very dependent on your location, so be sure to consult with your state broadband office on this. Regarding best practices for success, if you're new as an entrant and you don't have past labor compliance records, definitely make sure to focus on your future plans and consider incorporating labor protections that other states are encouraging that maybe aren't required everywhere. The more that you can check off those boxes and ensure that you meet these requirements, the stronger your chances will be of getting that higher score. Next slide, please. And the last topic that I'll talk about here is workforce development and workforce resilience. So through the BEAD Notice of Funding opportunity, you might have heard that workforce development and recruiting a diverse workforce are highly important for subgrantees and the state offices themselves. So what they're looking for here is that you need to certify that the workforce that you're using for that BEAD funded project is appropriately skilled and credentialed. This means that they need to be technically qualified to complete those funded activities in a way that's safe and effective and on time. Additional considerations, though, are going to vary based on your state. So this might include things like, does your business have apprenticeships, pre-apprenticeships, or other high-quality on-the-job training opportunities? Do you have those appropriate credentials and certifications for those team members? Also, things like workforce development goals or plans that are written out on how you're going to engage with your community to recruit historically underrepresented groups. These are things where it's great to look into that BEAD funding application through your state's broadband office and see exactly what they're marking as mandatory versus optional. The more, once again, that you can achieve and check off, the greater your application is going to be. The last thing here, though, is that under BEAD funding, there are non-deployment funds that can be allocated. And it is noted that those funds can be used to support workforce development goals. So that might include registered apprenticeships, as well as upskilling in cybersecurity education to support your team's job skills. So definitely look into that as well as you're looking for workforce development projects to put in place. Next slide, please. Okay, so what can Calix do to help you with workforce development? This is a high priority for my role and this team at Calix. So obviously there is an unprecedented demand for skilled talent, and I'm sure many of you are aware that it's very hard to find that skilled talent these days. And we're trying to find ways to not only bring people in, but help them stay. So what we're doing is we're actively creating a comprehensive workforce transformation playbook that will help walk you through 4 different areas of workforce development. That's finding, upskilling, retaining, and scaling your local workforce. So in the meantime, what we've done is in Calix University, similar to where you'll find those cybersecurity resources, we have a new workforce transformation page. It's actively in development, and we highly encourage you to check it out throughout the year. We've already got some great resources and tools here to help. Some of those include a brand new micro-learning course that walks you through the current workforce landscape and a workforce self-assessment. We're also curating certifications and free educational content that you can use to upskill your team members from associations like the Fiber Optic Association, as well as professional development leadership programs through things like the Fiber Broadband Association. Another fantastic opportunity that we can provide is complimentary Calix University access for any faculty or instructors at your local technical college or university. This is by request, but what we're trying to do is create an active community of practice for broadband educators. By us supporting the educators in your area, we're hoping to not only provide them with tools and resources that can help them stay informed on the latest Calix products and solutions, but be able to pass that on to their students and hopefully build out your local talent pipeline. It's a fantastic opportunity, and these instructors can also get access to our virtual labs and consult with our technical trainers. So if you're interested in learning more, please reach out to either me or workforcedev@calix.com, and we'll give you additional details. And next slide. The last slide that I'm going to cover here is talking a bit more about that workforce transformation playbook. So as I mentioned, we're focusing on those 4 main areas of find, retain, upskill, and scale. And we'll be building out additional tools, guidance, and resources to support you in all of these different areas. In the meantime, though, we have a variety of existing employer tools that can help you. One of those is Broadband Academy. This is a free resource available to the general public that walks through the 5 stages of building a broadband business. We also have, through Calix University, Solutions Academy. This is a great opportunity to have your team members learn the latest and greatest information on our solutions and services. We offer a variety of certifications, including our AXOS E7 specialist and active Ethernet specialist roles. And lastly, we have things like our new virtual labs, which allow you to practice with Calix equipment and solutions in a fully simulated environment, no equipment required. These are some excellent opportunities to upskill and retain your team members, and we hope that you're able to take advantage of them. But thank you so much for letting me share some details on this. I'm going to go ahead and pass this on to Shapur to talk about Build America, Buy America.
All right, thank you very much, Arizona. So I want to very quickly touch on BABA, aka Build America, Buy America. So BABA is essentially a legislation to create new jobs in America. How does it relate to BEAD? Well, the NTIA created a limited waiver relief last September defining equipment and processes to be used in the US. We are still waiting for the final rulings to be published, so I don't want to jump into the details just yet, so please stay tuned. But nevertheless, I'm proud to announce that Calix will be BABA compliant. We are in the process of preparing a complete suite of BABA-ready products. Once final ruling is made, we will be hosting another webinar to dive a little bit deeper into this topic, so please stay tuned. I'll now pass it back over to Jen to quickly touch on ACP and post-award reporting.
Great, thank you so much. So many of you are probably enrolled in the ACP program and are tracking the wind down activities. Unfortunately, Congress was not able to find any additional funding and pass anything. So that is why we are in the process of winding the ACP down. So as of right now, new customers can no longer apply for the benefit, and providers also cannot add any new jurisdictions to their ACP service. So right now, the FCC is estimating that the ACP will expire in April, and you're on the hook right now if you participate in ACP to send about 3 written notices to your customers. The first notice was due to go out on January 25th, so about a month ago. The second notice isn't going out yet, but you should be working on preparing it now. That should go out no later than 15 days after the FCC releases a 60-day notice. So we're expecting that sometime in late February, so sometime in the next week or so. And then there will be a third notice, and that has to coincide with the last bill or billing cycle for which the benefit is applied. So there's a lot of details. We actually had put out an alert on this, really explaining all of the different pieces and steps that providers need to take to wind this down. That said, there are significant efforts on Capitol Hill to try to pass some legislation funding up to about half of what the original allocation was, so about $7 billion for the remainder of the year. The FCC chairwoman, the president, there have been a lot of activities to a group of mayors have really been pushing the Hill to pass something. Just this morning, there was some news that House Commerce Committee ranking member Pallone is trying to seek stopgap funding to go into the fiscal year 24 omnibus package to keep the program running. So they're really looking to figure out how to attach ACP funding to really any legislation, although it doesn't look incredibly likely at this time that it will be funded. So what does that mean for all of you who are participating? It's really looking at other options for your ACP customers. So if you don't participate in Lifeline, is that an option for you? Do you want to self-fund ACP on your own or create a company-sponsored discount? BEAD and several other programs require that you participate either in ACP or a successor program. So until there's a new program available, it's going to be unclear what you can participate in, but you can definitely look at, again, creating your own company sponsored discount. So the ways that we're helping our clients and we can offer assistance is we've helped our clients prepare their customer notices. We're helping our clients with winding down the program, figuring out what they need to do internally, and then also enrolling in Lifeline and complying with the Lifeline program rules, as well as looking for other potential opportunities. With that, we can go on to the next slide. All right, so switching gears from ACP to everyone's favorite topic, post-award reporting and compliance. So what you're going to want to do if you were to win a BEAD award is you're going to want to look at your application with the award document, because you might have some other requirements in your award agreement that you might not have been aware of, and that might be based on your particular state that you applied through. So it's very important to look at your award agreement. Also keep in mind that your environmental assessment can take a minimum of 6 months to complete. We're seeing, even with some of the USDA funding programs, we're seeing a significant amount of time, upwards of a year, for some of these environmental assessments to be done. On the reporting side, your first reporting cycle can actually begin well before you actually get your funding. So keep that in mind. NTIA is also, this is relatively new, they're going to allow fixed amount awards. So states can offer fixed amount awards without actually having to go back to NTIA for approval. So that is something that is different. And then you're going to have to do regular reporting at least semi-annually. So what are some things to think about that you can actually do now if you're planning to apply for BEAD? You can make sure that you have your cybersecurity and supply chain plans. Those of you who elected enhanced ACAM already have those, but those of you who weren't involved in that program, now is a good time to start thinking about those plans, as we heard earlier on this call. You also want to think about putting together some of your policies. Do you have conflict of interest policies? Do you have procurement policies? We can help you put those together. You're also going to want to look at what are your state and county requirements on prevailing wages. That's something you want to figure out earlier rather than later. And then the big one is you want to make sure that you're in compliance for any current grants that you have. If you recall, if you've ever applied for a grant, you have to sign a lot of paperwork and a lot of documentation and a lot of certifications. You want to make sure that you're actually in compliance with all of the requirements for any current funding that you have. Otherwise, you run the risk of being disqualified for any future funding. So that's something we can also help you work with, is the post-award compliance and reporting for any of your current grants. And with that, I will hand it off to Shapur.
Alrighty, thank you, Jen. All right, time for poll question number 2. So the question is going to be, are you planning on or have you already participated in your state's BEAD challenge process phase? Give it a couple of seconds. Alrighty, so we got 72% yes and 28% no. So this is a bit concerning, but let me lead it over to our next slide to talk about some next steps. So the reason I asked that poll question was because first things first, I want to talk about this challenge process. It is very important for everyone in this call here today to participate in your state's BEAD challenge phase. This is going to be critical for your future success, regardless on whether or not you want to pursue the funds or not. Even if you're not planning on applying for these funds, you should still participate at the very least from a defensive position. Essentially, your goal behind this position would be to protect your current service area and make sure no competitors can come in and apply for your locations and overbuild you. So now is really the time to start preparing. These challenge phases are going to move very quickly, so it is better to be prepared now rather than beginning preparing when the challenge phase begins. So again, even if you're not participating or you're not looking to pursue the funds, at the very least, just participate from a defensive position just to protect your current service area. And for those that are pursuing the funds, now is the time to really start planning and thinking about what areas you want to expand into. This leads me over to my next point. So, following the similar theme of planning and strategizing, I would recommend conducting feasibility studies and begin engaging with CE firms. Like I said, now is the perfect time to begin strategizing and figuring out where you want to expand into. If you begin these processes now, it will only allow you to be prepared. It will allow you to be prepared once the challenge/application phase begins, and would truly give you an edge over some of the other applicants. Moving on, we have enhancing your relationship with the local broadband office. At the end of the day, they are going to be the people that makes the decision on whether or not you will receive the funding. So the more you engage with them, the more you demonstrate your capabilities, the more you prove your commitment to your community, the higher the chance you would be considered for funding in the future. So it's really important for you to start, if you've not already, start and enhance your relationship with these folks at that office. Furthermore, we have participating in your state's preliminary application phase. So the majority of the states are going to be having a preliminary application phase where they will pretty much confirm whether or not you're truly an eligible applicant. So if you are interested in pursuing these funds, please check in with your local broadband offices and understand how this process works and make sure you don't miss that deadline. If you don't submit the preliminary application, this will likely cause problems down the line when the actual application phase comes into play. Lastly, schedule meetings with the speakers on this call. Our sole purpose here for being on this webinar today is to support you and your efforts. So please, if you like what you saw today or are interested in learning more about any sort of the topics that we mentioned today, please don't hesitate to reach out. At the end of the day, we are only successful if you're successful, so please don't be shy. We'll prop up our contact information during our Q&A sessions shortly, so please feel free to contact us directly with any of your questions. Now, that leads on to poll question number 3, last poll question of the day. So to make things a little bit easier for you folks, let us know if you would be interested in having a funding consult from the Calix team. Simple yes or no. And for those that answered yes, we will reach out directly at some time to set up a call with you guys. All right, let's give that a couple more minutes, 4 seconds. All right. Thank you for those that answered. And for those that answered yes, we will be reaching out once this webinar is done. Now that sums up all the content that we had for you guys today. Now we'll move on to our question and answer period. So please feel free to put in any of your questions in our chat, and we will be happy to answer any of them for you guys. And also our emails are present on the screen, so feel free to take a screenshot or take a picture and contact us directly if you would like as well. All right. We have, when will the BABA waiver requirements be finalized? This is an excellent question, and I wish I had the answer for you. But unfortunately, there's not really telling with the government these days. we had rumors that we were supposed to hear something by the end of the week, but then again, we did hear that they were supposed to initially be announced at the end of 2023. So it's really hard to tell, but
What'd
the
you
most
say?
recent news that we've had
Oh,
was that,
I think I'm
oh,
gonna sit
all right,
today because
someone's,
I'm on a WebEx and
oh,
um,
hello? Can you guys hear me now? Sorry, I guess I just muted myself. Okay, cool. Guessing you guys can hear me. So yeah,
Yes.
crossing our
Yes,
fingers. Let's
I
hope
can hear
we
you
hear
now.
some. Perfect. Yeah, so I'm not too sure where I cut out there. But long story short, the latest news we heard was hopefully something by the end of this week, but we can really just only cross our fingers and hope to hear some news. Will the slides be available after the presentation? They definitely will. We're going to have the recording on our website, and we are also going to we're going to send out the slides to all attendees as well. Uh,
So Shapur, there is another question about state offices basically not having a lot of information on using other federal programs for the 25% match. And so I can answer that one. While this is a possibility, a lot of the state uh, broadband offices are not looking at using other federal funding mechanisms for the 25% match, just in hopes that they can extend the money and be used as far as possible. So right now, I know the ARPA Capital Projects Fund was another federal grant program that had this possibility. And in our discussions with various SBOs, they have not expressed an interest in using those funds to 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 provide a relief for the 25% match. I will say, however, that there are states that there is a possibility for some waivers to be applied to the match, and those waivers will typically be applied probably in areas that are harder to serve and have less competition. So, waiving some amount of the match is a possibility in some areas.
Thank you for that, Kevin. Okay, we have one for Jennifer. Ms. Holtz, as a JSI project specialist slash engineer myself, are there any good resources you would recommend to look into so as to be prepared for possible clients?
Sure. Hi, thanks for the question. I think the number one place to look is the Internet for All website, which is the NTIA site. They have a broadband dashboard where you can actually keep track of all of the status. There are a number of trade publications. Broadband Breakfast is one of them. A lot of the state websites, the state broadband offices, which are linked to through the NTIA website, is a good place to look. And then really just going through, I think that, and looking through the volume 1, the volume 2s that are already posted, and looking through the initial BEAD NOFO that came out last year, really looking through that, and then running down the references that are mentioned in the BEAD NOFO are probably, I would say, the best places to start. And I am happy to talk with you offline.
Alrighty, Jen, we have one more question for you. Will Lifeline qualify ISPs in terms of a low-income program like ACP did, or does this have to be a specific no-cost program?
So I have to pull up the language and remember what it says. It may say, and I'd have to go back and see if it says or a successor program. A lot of the other programs say or a successor program. So we have to see what the actual language says. And then some of the states, depending on what they're putting in their volume 1 and 2s and how they're handling their application process, the states have some flexibility on the low cost option. So I don't know if we're going to see a lot of if everyone's going to do the same thing. Basically, there might be a mix across all the different states on how they want to handle it, because NTIA is giving flexibility to the states on the low cost option. So it's hard to say specifically if Lifeline will qualify or not. It's really going to depend on the states.
Hey, thanks, Jen. Any other questions? Another minute.
So Shapur, I did have one comment based on the poll results. You know, one of the questions asked if they were going to be participating in the challenge process, and there were quite a few people that were not interested in that, and then the ones as far as the last poll question, as far as wanting a consult, I think the issue there is, you know, I think your response, you were kind of surprised by the participating in the challenge process, and I think the risk there is, I think all of the states, and I believe probably most everybody in the industry realizes that the broadband maps that the states are using at the beginning of their challenge process are errored. Most of those are based on the FCC's uh, broadband data collection mapping program, and there's just general understanding that those are in error. And so, at the very least, I think to your point, and I want to highlight this, um, every ISP should be looking into their serving area and making sure that it is represented correctly in that data. If it's not, then this is your last chance to basically, if they are served, this is your last chance to make sure that you don't get overbilled with federal funds. Because if it goes in to the award process in the FCC BDC, or in the challenge map for BEAD eligible locations, it can be available for BEAD funding.
Excellent point, Kevin. Thank you for reiterating that. All right, any other questions, comments, anyone?
There is another question. It says, regarding the 25% match, there are funding investment options that can support companies with eligible BEAD applications. Amperage infrastructure is an option. So
Yeah.
for more information, please send a note to Shapur.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of our partners, Joseph from Amperage. All right. One more questions? Cool. Well, that sums up all the content that we had for you guys today. So please feel free to contact either one of us directly, and we would be glad to assist you in any way we can. If you have any questions, our emails are down below. And again, we're only successful if you're successful, so please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you all, and I hope you all have a great day. Thanks, everyone.